Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Jen and Sharon. Good morning, Sharon.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everybody. Glad to
Did,
be here.
did you miss me? I was gone for 2 weeks. I bet
We
nobody even
all
noticed.
missed you. No,
I,
we did. We had some wonderful special guests,
I
but
know. I was replaced happily. That was excellent. I'm sure that it's everybody needs a little time away, right? Isn't that the
yes. And
of Chicago?
I'm sure now you're ready for anything. You're just so refreshed. You're refreshed and not stressed about
Hold me
anything.
back. Just hold me back. I am ready to jump back in. So ready that I forgot how to do everything. This is the problem. I love vacation, and
Yes.
it is. I really got off the grid for a couple of weeks. I didn't check the email very much at all. It was hardly on social media and all that stuff that we tell everybody else is good to do. It is good to do, but here's the rub: re-entry is a bleep. I am really struggling to get my bleep back together because there's some things I forgot how to do, even in 2 weeks. Like, I forgot that I should look at my calendar every day, and I missed my dentist appointment this morning.
Oh, no.
I feel like such a schmo. I hate when I do that.
And they have to be scheduled so far in advance.
Yeah, and I'm ruining their day, and it's, they couldn't have been nicer about it, but I was almost in tears. I'm like, I'm sorry,
Oh.
It was just so dumb. I went for a walk. I'm having a great walk, and I get back, and it's like I didn't have my phone with me. Get back, you get that notification. Dentist. 5 minutes ago. I'm like, well, unless I can go back in time and teleport myself, I'm not making that appointment.
Mm-hmm. I have an intruder.
Intruder alert!
Sorry, they have to ask you a question.
What?
They have to ask you a question.
When real life
Tell them I'm on a work call.
I told them already.
They have to wait.
Okay.
Did you hear what I just said?
You got a very good boundary there. That was awesome.
So I was just telling.
That was an Emmy Award winning moment right there in parenting.
It was actually, I'm not even telling a child to wait. I'm telling my contractors to wait because, like I was telling Jen before we went live, there might be some banging and sawing that happens because we had a bathroom that gave up the ghost in our 100-year-old house. And they have to rip everything out, like the old cast iron pipes and everything. Well, there's contractors here, and the notification from my teenager right there was that the contractors want to talk to me. And I said, I don't know if you could hear me. I said, tell them I'm on a work call. She's like, I did. Oh, well, they're going to have to wait because right now, Jen and everybody watching are my number one priorities, and I'm not leaving you.
We feel so special. Okay, if you're watching right now, I want anybody who's watching, I want you to give Sharon a little pat on the back for.
I want some smiles or some snaps.
Some snaps or something, because that was a bold move in setting boundaries across the board.
So sorry for the interruption. We were talking about your re-entry and missing your dentist appointment because you're just back from vacation and
it sucks. It really
does not compute.
Right. Well, it made me realize it gave me some empathy for what our kids are about to encounter, and we as parents too, for that whole reentry to school. Because so take my 2-week vacation and extrapolate it to the whole summer, unless you're in one of those horrible places where they make the kids go to school all year round. That always sounded like such a horrible thing to me. I know it's the same number of days. I get that, but like the concept blew my mind. But so anyway, what are the things that you think that you've forgotten how to do that you're going to have to relearn when the school year starts? I have a couple, but I want to hear what's on your list.
Well, for school in particular, I forgot how to shop for lunches that go to school.
Lunch is the worst.
I mean, okay, my kids have not been in in-person school since March 2020.
Oh.
So the lunch has been whatever they find. It's leftovers. It's lots of pots and pans. They're just, it's cheese and crackers. I don't know. But when they go to school, they like to have certain items to choose from. And I had to ask them and ask myself, what was it? What was it we used to buy? What do we have to have on hand? Like the deli turkey is not as regular an item in the house as it is during the school year because it's such an easy sandwich to grab.
Well, probably also fruit. You could, when you're buying fruit to have at home, you buy it differently than when it has to be packaged to go to school for most of us.
Right. Well, I mean, you don't bring the raspberries to school because they get mushed and they make a mess, but we do send the apples. At least one of the kids loves the green apples. So, but we don't buy as many when we're at home. So
Yeah.
I don't know, for whatever reason, it's a little different.
You're gonna have to do some relearning. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
But
So
I go on autopilot at the grocery store. I'm like, really, I take a list, but half the time I don't look at it until the very end. It's just a safety net to make sure I didn't forget something. Spoiler, I still do usually. But like I'm like, okay, well, I'm in this aisle. I usually get these two things, and in this aisle I get these two things. Having to fold school back in and think about school lunches, whether you're packing them or they're packing them, never mind, because you're still the one who's doing the shopping.
Right.
So you have to think about it. And I know some people who are super organized about back to school lunches. Like they have bins in the refrigerator. They're like, take one of each of these things, and they've got like the cheese sticks in one, and they've got the fruit cups in another. And I was never that mom.
does that work with teenagers too? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it might not be a bad thing because then they feel like, and they still could do it themselves, but maybe they,
right.
they have the autonomy to say, well, I'm going to pick.
I got to pick this protein and this. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, maybe in my dream self, that's a special preview of next week. We're going to be talking about our ideal selves versus our actual selves. The people we wish we were versus people we are. But that's for next week.
Well, here's one thing on my list that I forget every year, which is, so now I have a kid in college, and every year I seem to forget that college kids also need school supplies. Like it's out of my mind. And I'm thinking, for me, like back to school shopping was something you did K through 12. And in some districts, you even don't have to do that because they might provide the supplies, most of the supplies your kids need if you're lucky. But somehow when my kids got to college, it's like I just turned that part of my brain off. And I would be driving them back to school and literally pulling into the driveway of their school or their dorm and saying, oh, do you either need, like, do you have notebooks and pens? And every time the answer was no. Like, why would I have thought of that, And so then they have to go to the super expensive bookstore on campus, which I use that term loosely because they don't have books in the bookstore anymore. They just have T-shirts and mugs and pins and teeny bits of laundry soap and
notebooks that probably have the logo on it. So you're paying an extra $5 for the logo on the cover of the notebook.
Embossed,
yes.
foil embossed logo with the college name on it that they are going to use for only one semester. Remember, college courses are only one semester. They don't even get to keep the whole year. But they can't reuse it because they used it already for that one class. So it gets very little usage, and it's like $5 a notebook. So this year, I am going to text my daughter today and say, hey, this might be a good day to go figure out what kind of school supplies you need before you go back to school next week. What do you think about that?
So smart. So smart. You're learning, Jen.
I'm trying to.
Yes, even this late in the college game.
Yeah, it is late. It's very late. She's got 2 years left, but we'll try to do it for both of the years that are left. So
yeah.
So what else is going to be rough? What are you going to have to relearn?
Well, I think it's like where the school stuff lives at our house. And, the summer is always a beautiful thing because all the stuff goes away. The backpacks get tucked away and you don't have to worry about where all this, how they come in and they just drop everything and like where all that's going to go. Yeah. And I had sort of taken over. Now they have Chromebooks. So the Chromebooks have to go somewhere when they're not being charged. So we have 3 big Chromebooks. So I took over a drawer in the dining room. We had like almost a dresser in there. And I'm like, this is where they're all going. And I felt so smart. But I opened the drawer 2 days ago and
I'm worried.
There was no food in it.
Okay.
There was no food. But we did take everything out of the Chromebook, etc. drawer for all the school stuff. It's like when you find a textbook on the dining room table and you're trying to eat, it gets thrown in that drawer. Well, so I have a 10th grader now. His 8th grade binder was still in there. So one of those zip up binders, I think he came home from school in March 2020, probably left, he didn't put it in the drawer. He probably left it on the dining room table. Right. And I threw it in the drawer. And then I unearthed this from the bottom of the pile. Like I said, no food in it, but this thing hadn't been touched in a year and a half.
Archaeology. You're studying archaeology right now.
There were bits of Valentine making supplies. I didn't even know anyone in my house still made Valentines. They're getting so old. But so we took all that out. And we had to kind of figure out, like, what do you need to bring to school? And I was trying to convince my eldest. I'm like, do you need a planner? Because this child needs a planner. But
all need planners. They
yeah.
need planners.
So So I think just like where the things go and like keeping track of all the school things is going to be the usual thing because everything stayed in the house before. Right. So we have a comment from Lori.
Hey, Lori.
Love you, Jen. Yay. Aww. Props for Jen.
Right back at you, Lori. I know she loves you too, Sharon.
Oh, Lori did this college school supplies and she was always the mom that bought extra. You know what?
That's smart.
Lori, you need to remind us next time. Right. Well, it sounds like Jen's on it this year, but we all need a friend like Lori who's going to say, hey, I just went school supply shopping for my college kid. Did you do that?
I have that friend, and she moved away, and it was the hardest thing because she was the one who would be the one to remind me. She's like, did you see that email from the PTA about you have to bring in, muffins on Tuesday for the teachers? I'm like, oh, I forgot. She was that mom who would always keep me on the straight and narrow. Thank you, Sarah. And then
you're the mom.
I for myself, and I was terrible at it. So. Yeah, so we all need that mom friend. Thank you, Lori. And Lori's son is going off to college for the first time. So, Lori, I know you're feeling a lot of feels right now, and
is he there yet?
It's gonna hurt a little bit at first, but they come back a lot. Just remember that the more you pay, the less they go. So he'll be back. Don't worry.
So what else? What else, Jen?
Reentry is going to be interesting for a lot of people because you pointed out something which is true, which is for many people, which is maybe your kids haven't even been back in school since the pandemic. So if that is the case, there's a whole other load of things that they're going to have to relearn. And it might involve things they didn't have to do before, like maybe you're going to have to put masks and sanitizer on your school supply list if they're going to be going back in person, which we kind of all hope is the case. Maybe they're going to have to learn some etiquette around what it's like when you're wearing a mask and you're talking to people. I think that's going to be hard. Like if you've been out in the world at all and doing that stuff, you kind of get it. But maybe some of our kids have been sort of free range all summer, outside, social distanced, and we're not too worried about it. But now if they're going to be back in an indoor setting, I think that is just it's going to take some muscle memory to get back in the habit of how do you distance. I love that we got something from the local high school saying they're maintaining, all those distancing rules. I'm like, have you been in our high school when the classes change? There's no physical distancing. Yeah. It's like a massive humanity. So I think everybody's going to have to learn a lot of patience and grace.
And even things we hadn't thought of, like I have one kid who's more soft-spoken than the others, and they're going to have to speak up even a little more because that mask muffles everything.
It does. If you have a kiddo who's on the quieter side, I think it's going to present some additional challenges talking to teachers too. Like it's hard for kids to talk to teachers sometimes without that barrier. So maybe we're going to have some chats with our kids ahead of time about it's okay to speak up a little more or assert yourself more. Maybe we're going to be using email more as a great way to communicate.
Well, they got good at that. A lot of them got good at that during the pandemic because everything was online. So they had to learn how to email the teachers.
Right. They had to learn some email etiquette. We have another comment here from
Shito.
Nice for you to join us. She said her school started today.
I think a lot of people started today. How exciting.
So. I wonder how she's feeling about it. If you want to tell us, is it like a thumbs up, a thumbs down, in the middle? Like something's good, something's not. I don't know what ages her kids are, so maybe it's like, yay, they're finally out from under, or maybe it's like, I'm worried. There's a lot of different ways people might be feeling about the school year. This year more than ever. We always have those feelings, but it's amplified somehow, I think.
What's one thing, Jen, that also I noticed before we go? is that the kids care about what they're wearing. I mean, always back to school, what you're wearing to back to school is kind of a thing. Like, what are you going to wear for your first day or whatever? But
unless you're a boy.
Yeah, unless you're
like,
I don't know. There's
I wore the last 20 days.
There's even some of that too. But it's also that nobody has seen them. Like, you didn't have to dress a particular way for Zoom, or maybe just, from here up. But suddenly it's like, you're much more exposed in a way. Like, everybody can see your whole self. And, you may have grown a few inches or gotten a new hair color or haircut. And I think there might be some appearance anxiety with our kids too.
Because it's been extra long for some of these kids. Since
Exactly.
Maybe their immediate friends have seen them, but not their peer group. And I mean, I just remember, when my kids went, I think it was mostly going from elementary to middle school. I felt like there was just this really big change in how many kids looked. And there were kids I didn't recognize. Like, I remember a good friend of mine, her daughter pulled up next to me in a car, and she waved at me, and I was like, oh, she's so sweet. This girl I don't know just waved at me, and she said, do you know who I am? I'm like, I didn't know who you were, but I figured out. They really can change that much. So
yeah,
that could be some anxiety for teachers too. Like, hey, who are these kids?
Right.
I had before.
Right. Braces are gone, glasses to contacts, braces are on, they grew so much. So
lots of change. So, all right. Well, however you're feeling about the school year, we want to hear it. Oh, Chantel has something to tell us here. Let's see what she has.
Oh, feeling so great. Senior in high school and an 8th grader. Mm-hmm. Oh, the 8th grader was online. So to school after a year. Before leaving, he said, Mom, you'd be very happy. The daughter just checked in. Oh, that's very sweet.
That's adorable. I'm so happy. It sounds like it's starting off well for her family. And it'll be interesting. I think we're all going to be relearning some things. I'm going to hopefully remember to look at my schedule every day. And that's going to go double for our kids. They haven't had to look at a calendar for many, many, many weeks.
It's true. It's true.
So
we'll make it though.
In and get ready. It's coming at us. Go buy some school supplies.
Yeah, and come join us next week. I'm going to need the company because my kids are going to be at school a week from today. So we'll celebrate.
Yes, we will. We'll have a little celebratory coffee.
All right. So thanks for joining us, everybody. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.